Mr. President, when we are able to move to the economic development bill, I will have a bipartisan amendment that will address the interchange issue in a way that I think most senators can support. I would also like to note that I appreciate Senator Durbin's passion on the issue, and with any number of issues we have in common, I look forward to working with him again very, very soon. Mr. President, most of the folks in this body know that I'm a farmer, that I come from the agricultural sector. It's important because over the many years that I've been able to be in agriculture, I've watched consolidation in agriculture, where fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer companies control more and more and more and more of the food supply. Call it consolidation. The same thing has occurred in our energy sector, where we have fewer and fewer and fewer companies, less competition in the marketplace, and we're paying that price in both areas. We've seen enough consolidation in the financial area, Mr. President. And why is this important? It is important because the amendment that I'm going to offer, the bipartisan amendment, will help so we don't further consolidate the financial industry. I also come from rural America. We all know, as the senator from Illinois pointed out, we're coming out of a very difficult economic time. In fact, the senator pointed out that he voted for the bailout of the big banks because it was because of jobs. I want the record to be clear. I did not vote for that TARP bailout, but I am too concerned about jobs. I'm concerned about jobs across the country, but particularly in rural America. The amendment that we voted on a year ago had a provision in it that exempted banks under $10 billion from this debit swipe fee rule. Everybody thought it would work. Well, at least those who voted for the amendment thought it would work. But the fact is that every regulator has said that this $10 billion exemption, we don't know how to enforce it. The regulators said we do not know how to craft a rule to exempt those small banks, community banks and credit unions under $10 billion. Every state regulator has said the same thing. In fact, Chairman Bernanke admitted the rule could, and I quote, result in some of the smaller banks being less profitable and even failing. And that is because the two-tiered system will not work under the current law. It's not my opinion. That is the opinion of the folks whose job it is to regulate these banks. And their customers, hardworking folks, are going to get stuck with higher fees, potentially no access to capital, or even worse, no local banks at all. Further consolidation in the banking industry. And let me be clear, if any one of the regulators, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, the chair of the FDIC, the comptroller of the currency had told me that the interchange rule proposed last year that we passed would actually protect small banks, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't even be here having this debate. We'd be moving on. But that's not what happened. Mr. Chairman, the Wall Street banks are going to be just fine. My amendment is not about the Wall Street banks. They can distribute their costs. They got a lot of different irons in the fire. They can distribute their costs. The fact is, the small banks, the credit unions, the community banks, the credit unions cannot distribute those costs. That will result in less access to capital in rural America, and I think across the country, it will result in less jobs, because you got to have capital to grow business and create jobs. Look, oftentimes we make decisions based on incorrect information. It's nice when you make decisions based on good information. And that's what we're asking to do here. Just take a step back, take a look at this stuff, and make a good decision, a decision that will work not only for rural America, but for the whole country. This is an important amendment. It is a critically important amendment from my perspective. We shut down access to capital in rural America because community banks and credit unions cannot compete. Not only will we further consolidate the financial industry, but we'll take away opportunity for small businesses, opportunity that will allow them to grow and create jobs in a time where we need growth in our economy and we need more job creation. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.